Hi, welcome to learning more about managing expectations with your team. You'll cover three parts over the period of this course. Part one will review the managing expectations philosophy, define it, and how it works. Part two reviews what you do to help. You'll build a foundation and understand how to manage expectations through coaching, feedback, and training. Part three will go a little deeper into documentation, difficult conversations, and looking for patterns in performance. And finally, there will be a short quiz to test your knowledge. First, managing expectations. So, what comes to mind when thinking of performance management? Likely you're familiar with what's called progressive discipline. Progressive discipline centers on a stepped approach to managing performance and includes a set of warnings, verbal, written, and final warning, and maybe even a performance improvement plan or PIP given within a time limit, let's say usually like 30 days. And think about your experience as an employee or people manager with progressive discipline. Has it been your experience that this approach works for the long term with the employee? The progressive discipline model creates yo-yo behavior when an employee will sustain their behavior until the timeline is up, and then the old behavior appears again. It's also inflexible and can be punitive, which isn't a desired outcome in any culture. Coaching and feedback are ongoing. Coaching and feedback can be scheduled or unscheduled. And the goal is at any time they're asked, your employee can speak confidently about the job performance because they're in sync with you based on the honest and specific feedback that you offer to them. So depending on the type of feedback given, it will be documented. Typically, document conversations when the employee's performance is a concern. You see an established pattern and immediate feedback and coaching are offered with an expectation of immediate and sustained improvement in outcome. Setting expectations with each person on your team so they understand how they fit into the company's vision and mission is key and critical to managing expectations. And vice versa. As an employee, it's critical for you to know the expectations of your job in order to be fully productive. So moving forward, if you haven't recently, it's a best practice to review roles and responsibilities, job expectations, the metrics to meet, daily goals with your team, and certainly always with the new employee. This is actually part of the onboarding process and should be included in the first week of training. By regularly reaffirming job goals, you're creating an expectation and culture of accountability. Next, let's connect core values to managing those job expectations. Your company likely has core values that drive it to improve performance. For our class, we'll work from typical values you see in many companies. By striving to be exceptional in each value, employees continue to develop as long as they know what they're doing well and where they need to improve. That's where you come in. Using your company's core values as talking points during coaching and feedback conversations will enable the employee to focus on the behaviors needed for continuous improvement. In the same way you're focused on improving upon each internal process through communication, streamlining, or documentation, you do the same with each other as you continue to drive and push each other to get better consistently. Once you understand what you're accountable for and how it aligns with company values, you're ready to coach to make adjustments to performance and offer feedback for more specific behavior concerns. The same is true for you as an employee. So think about the difference between coaching and feedback. Coaching helps the employee reach the goal through guidance. Effective coaching leads the employee to make the best decision based on the information they have, with perhaps some counsel or questions from you. This can be done with training and proper use of tools with practice. Coaching is very rarely you telling them what to do. That's feedback, which is more specific and detailed. Coaching gives the employee an opportunity to figure out what to do best on best practices, shared expectations, and prior feedback on their own performance to achieve their goals. But when your employee makes a mistake, and they will, ask them how they plan to resolve the issue. This empowers them to correct their mistake and adjust their behavior going forward. Sometimes you might need to guide them to the preferred direction, and in time, with consistent and effective coaching, they'll start to resolve issues on their own. Feedback helps the employee reach the goal through some corrective action, even if only a slight behavior adjustment, and is made by offering specific observations. And so the feedback you provide is immediate when possible. It's specific with examples, and you offer solutions to improve. It's also ongoing. Again, you want your employees to know where they stand regarding their performance and your expectations of their role. There's always room for us to improve and grow. So you set expectations by telling your employees the objectives, goals, and milestones of the job and how to successfully accomplish them. You manage expectations through ongoing coaching and feedback as needed. And finally, you might need to document performance lists as needed and once a pattern is established. So do you currently keep notes and recaps of meetings and one-to-ones? If not, I'd recommend starting a journal now. Maybe a spiral journal, and not somewhere stored on a server where there might be an information breach. We also document some conversations via email to recap and send to the employee just the highlights and what was agreed upon. And for patterns of not meeting company or your team values, you'll use the values feedback form, which goes over the value that's not being met and how it's impacting the team, the job, and then setting expectations that, look, this behavior needs to be corrected immediately and sustained. Otherwise, we'll probably have to have another conversation. We'll go over the values feedback form in another video.